Hello, everybody. Thank you for this honor. I cannot come. We are on our honeymoon trip to New Zealand, but I would be glad to present a keynote at next IPMA Research Conference. Please look at me, what I have done in the past. Project management is my most recent and favorite research domain. 3,000 of my 11,000 Google Scholar citations are from project management publications. 32 of my 68 supervised PhDs were in PM research, and 4 of my 7 supervised habilitation theses. 8 of 16 PhDs that have made it to full tenured professors have published on PM issues. And my PhDs won 7 times out of the 20 times the research award granted by the Gesellschaft für Projektmanagement in Germany for the best dissertation. And finally, I have myself become a professor of project management at BI, Norwegian Business School in Oslo. Now, let's take a look at my research in project management. I started in the 1990s with studies on success factors of a single project. I was a bit concerned that we derive standards without being research informed. So I first developed, together with Thomas Leckler, a causal model for general success factors, which was based on Pinto studies. Then, in the latest stage, we looked at specific success factors like teamwork quality with Martin Högel, planning quality with Buschelberger, user integration, senior management support, and so on. And from this, you are able to develop an early warning system in longitudinal studies. And we found evidence for this. And this is very important because you first have to look, is my team designed correctly? Do I have the right people in place? Are they get sufficient support? And so on. And then, when you see that in the early stages, something is going wrong, you can do interventions. So it's much better to have early warning systems than simple success factor studies, which are based on retrospective evidence. Rather, you have to gather the evidence during the process, but firms do not do. There's a big potential which you can use. So next complex was on highly innovative projects, so-called radical innovations. And I have to tell you, many things which we teach and which are in our textbooks do not apply to radical innovation. For instance, if you look at process maturity, process formalization, that has a negative impact if you are running very highly innovative projects, because you do not know which stages to have to make and what you have to examine at the milestones. You do not know that in advance. So it becomes a bureaucratic act, and it's only hindering the few persons that have to work together. Now, if you look at informal roles, in Germany, promoter theory is very popular. In the English-speaking countries, champion concept. However, our study showed that the troika of power promoter, process promoter, and expert promoter have an increasingly negative impact the higher the degree of technological innovativeness. Whereas the boundary spanners, the technological gatekeepers, the relationship promoters, and also the project managers, they have a positive impact. So, in a world of open innovation, you need different kinds of key persons. Then we found that the teams at radical innovations, that they need to be collocated. This creates a very different innovation culture and a much better teamwork quality. And this matters particularly in case of radical innovations because you have to exchange so much information. You need strong ties. And the radical innovation teams, the successful ones, usually start very small, but then accelerate and outpace the teams in size from the less successful projects. So these are some lessons learned from this project Innovation Compass, where 12 dissertations came out. Then we have success factors of multi-team projects. So mistakenly, many people think that a project and a team is the same thing. But it's not true. We have an increasing number of complex projects where you have multi-teams to coordinate. And inter-team coordination is very different from cooperation within teams. So in the Erasmus study, where it was a 10-country study performed during my time in Karlsruhe, we looked at 10 different countries and found that the participants need good starting conditions. That means they have to share common goals. The goals should be sufficiently precise. They should have complementary and high concepts, and they should have initial trust and understanding. And then the projects are running much better. This applies more for short-running projects than for long-term ones, because in the long-term ones, during the development of the project, many things can happen. Then in the so-called Cayenne study, that was the development of the first Porsche Cayenne, the platform for Cayenne and Touareg, we found that early teamwork quality matters most. We had the opportunity to do a longitudinal study and therefore could find this out very clearly. In the Cayenne study, we looked also at inter-team cooperation. And here it's important that you have shared goals regarding the overall project and the goals which have been derived for you. That you have integrated workflows between teams and integrated resource management overall, so that resources which are needed by several teams are well aligned with the overall progress. And then in European Space Agency study, together with Jan Kratzer, we found that less communication may be more. So the researchers, the physicians and us, and which are working in this project, they communicated a lot. In the early stages, this increased creativity and did cost more time. In the later stages, when it came to testing, it only did cost time. And design structure matrix did not help very much because they require an increase in communication, and that was already given. Finally, our studies on multi-project management, that means on managing project landscape. It's conceptualized much broader than ordinary project portfolio management, but project portfolio management is a part of it. You have the following success factors. You have to look at operational transparency. That's what firms do most. They establish structures and processes and roles, and they use ICT systems to support everything, and they have a tight monitoring, tight controlling. And this increases, of course, the success of project portfolios. However, this only reaching to a certain limit. You need, in order to select the right projects, you need to know the strategy. Strategic alignment matters much. So you need a good strategy quality, and it has to be broken down. A vertical integration of the different management levels is required. And this requires also top management involvement. It has to delegate, and line management has also to delegate to project management. So then it's not sufficient to operate on the existing portfolio of projects. Rather, you have to improve the inflow. That means that you need a proactive ideation portfolio management. And this is granted by giving the people more autonomy, by having processes to select the best ideas and prioritize them, and in this strategic visioning, which issues, which needs you have, for which you need new ideas. This is also very important. But most important is autonomy and support of the creative people, giving them designs of freedom. And then, when you have enough ideas, you can select a process, and the process should not become bureaucratic. Therefore, strategic visioning is giving it the lifeblood. Finally, when the projects are finished, you may be agile, but fragile. That means you have delivered good results, but they are not used. So you need a business plan governance over the whole process, not only in the early stages, but also over the whole process, and it has to be adapted to changes. And then not only the project manager, but in particular, the project sponsor has been made responsible for the success and has to be incentivized. Second, you need emerging strategies. Deliberate strategies are failing. The more turbulent the environment is, and the less well-tested the premises of your strategies have been. So, emerging strategies on their own explain a high variance between successful and failed firms. And finally, a good relationship project management is needed with your suppliers, with your customers, and with other stakeholders. And you do not only exploit value, business value, but you also have to exploit the knowledge gained in projects. That means you have to keep the people. You need career systems so that good project managers who want to run away, that you keep them and give them choices to develop further and to bring in their skills and knowledge in the next project. And if project managers, particularly experienced one, raise their voice, then you need a climate and you need an upward communication that is fostered in order to learn from them and to make the required changes. And last but not least, decision quality measured. Decisions need to be well-founded. This requires centralization of information, cooperation, and trust. But on the other hand, this should not be bureaucratic. You need to stay agile. Therefore, responsiveness is also a very big decision issue. You must make the hard decisions early, and you must make them consequently. Yeah, so far, my research work. I'm also editor-in-chief of Project Management Journal since 2013. The good news is the editors of PMJ have tripled number of submissions, they have doubled impact factor, they have increased in quality of reviewing, and we have now a buffer of 3 issues that needs about 20 papers. When I started, the buffer was negative. Here you see a picture from us at our last strategic meeting in Barcelona. And the bad news is this is not sufficient. We have to try it harder. We must do it again. Triple submissions, double impact factor, increase speed and quality of reviewing. This means we need you. We need your help. Read our articles, cite our articles, and give us hints for improvement. Thanks a lot. See you in Berlin, Oslo, or at next IPM Research Conference. By the way, there will be a farewell lecture at TU Berlin on February 5. See my new homepage, gemünden-farewell.de. Goodbye!